I'm at the CLG house right now, joined by Scarra, who has an announcement. We're filming this a little bit before the announcement goes up, but Scarra, you want to break down what's happening?
Yes, I'm stepping down as the CLG head coach.
All right, so why are you stepping down?
Uh, well, part of it is results based. So at the start of the split, I didn't really tell anyone till in the middle of the split, but I kind of made a promise to myself, and it was I took a very short 6-month contract, a contract where you know I felt underpaid for my position because I wanted to prove to the organization and the players that I could do this. So I feel like with our results being sixth place, I haven't necessarily followed that promise. And so that's part of the reason why I want to step out. The other half is because I'm not really sure if it's what I'm really passionate in. And I know that sounds like an excuse, right? Like it sounds like maybe I'm running away from the problem, but from what I understand most about myself is I chase happiness. That's my end goal, and probably what most people's end goals are. But the major problem is it's like I have these players who on stream have been like, this might be my last year, and this might be the last time I ever play in a competitive League of Legends team, and this might be it. Like, this is over. And I feel really bad because I don't think I can be a head coach of a team that's that serious if I'm not equally that serious as well. And so I think that during the time where I went from a coach to a player to a coach, I never really got a lot of time to think to myself. Like I never did any soul searching. I just kind of jumped from one profession to the other without really feeling it out whether it's like good for me, it's the best decision for me, and if I'm even happy doing it, if it's the decision that I feel like is the very best. And I think that maybe I jumped into it prematurely, and so I want to spend like the next 3 weeks to a month just soul searching, trying to figure out what I really enjoy doing. And I think that even though it comes at the expense of maybe the organization and the players, I feel really bad, and I want to apologize to all the players and the fans for doing this. I think I owe it to myself to do that.
So it sounds like you were not ever 100% committed to this?
No, that's not necessarily true. I was 100% committed. But while I was committed, there are times when I was doing the work and I was just like, I don't know if this is like the most enjoyable thing that I can do, right? Like there's only so many, like I don't know if I really enjoy watching like hours of VOD content, or I don't know if I really wanted to crunch as many numbers as I did. And there was times where I would be on my break day and I felt super bad that I even had a break day. And I thought to myself that like, I don't know if I would think this way if I was super passionate in what I was doing. And so like even when I was playing solo queue or I was streaming, every single time I was streaming I felt guilty that I was streaming. Like I should be using my time for the betterment of the team. Even though logically I understand that like there's no reason, like you shouldn't grind like in one aspect. Everyone needs a break. But to myself, I just thought that if I really, really enjoyed what I was doing, I wouldn't need that break.
You point out that the first half is sort of the fact that the team did not place as well as you'd hoped. How much of that do you place on yourself?
Well, I think at the very end, I placed a lot of the results based on myself. So the playoff preparation was poor, and that was all me, or like whatever, coaching staff, but I'm the head coach. I take full responsibility for that. I really think that one of the biggest things throughout the split was that we never really found our team identity. We have player identities, right? Like Peter wants to be a carry, Zion wants to be a carry, and like what a lot of other players are doing, or are okay doing whatever is best for the team. But in terms of team identity, we never really found one which everyone really aligned themselves up to. And I tried to make an organic team identity that never really ended up being there. Like the time frame I had was like, okay, by Worlds we're going to be a great team, but up until that we should practice being like the best team at everything. So beforehand, right, so this might be a little bit confusing because I don't really explain what team identity is. Team identity is like a team just does one thing and they're going to do that thing as the game starts, but they're just the best at it. For instance, TSM is probably the easiest example. They're a team that's always had the same team identity, almost always. When Reggie was a player, when Bjergsen was a player, they tend to put a lot of pressure mid lane, and right now their support and jungle take control of like the bot side of the map, and then Dyrus comes in team fights, but he doesn't get much pressure early. Like that's their identity. But CLG doesn't have that kind of identity, right? But before they did, before the CLG identity was like, okay, we'll farm to late game, right? Doublelift will just carry us with 5 shields, we'll just play Protect the AD, and maybe mid will play Ori, you know? And top lane will be a tank. But with the introduction of Zion, I was like, holy shit, like we can really like do some magic here. Like I want to make sure that we're the team that can carry from any role. And I feel like all of our players can be carry players. And so I put a lot of practice into like, okay, well, we should practice snowballing top lane this week, practice snowballing mid lane this week, practice snowballing bot lane this week, you know, and I just alternate based on what I think that we need have the biggest weakness in and try to fill it and then turn it into a strength. But what ended up happening was, since the time frame was actually like 3 weeks seems like a lot of time, or 10 weeks seemed like a lot of time, but actually it's not that much in the grand scheme of things. And playoffs kind of snuck up on me in the sense that I didn't realize it would be a problem once playoffs came in. And then once playoffs came in, we had maybe 2 weeks where we were like, oh, like we don't have a style of play. Like we played protect the AD, we played double AD carry. We've played like carry from top lane. We've played carry from bot lane. We've played like a Z game or two, and we played everything. And we never really came together and was like, okay, this is what we're best at. You know, we still tried to be the best team at everything, the jack of all trades team, but we ended up being master of none, and that really negatively impacted us for our preparation for playoffs.
You mentioned that this is sort of your decision to step down for reasons. Was there any pressure from the organization or the players for you to step down, or did you feel any kind of negative emotions or attitudes from the players and that kind of thing? I mean, most notably, Doublelift in a Team Liquid interview this week said that he felt as though you were kind of passive on the team rather than being much more aggressive or dominant over the players.
I probably have like maybe one of the like I think I have positive relationships with everyone on the team, but I do kind of agree with Doublelift that it wasn't more of like a authoritative thing, right? You know, I like to pull suggestions, make sure we come to the same conclusion kind of deal. But a lot of times, taking that extra step is something that's very off character for me. But maybe that's something that the team needed at a lot of times, and that I wasn't able to provide. And that's something that like I identified kind of near the mid-late in time of the split, and it was too late for me to implement it before playoffs, I feel. Or like it might not have been too late, but it was just very awkward for me to try to implement it. Okay? I don't think there definitely wasn't any negative thing from the organization. Like if I didn't step down, I more than likely would still be head coach. But and the fans of course talk a lot, and I don't really have any. I wasn't really influenced by them either, or the players. I think this is mainly a primary decision by myself to step down.
So, looking back at, you've named a couple different things that maybe you would consider being a little bit more dominant with the players and that kind of thing. Do you have other regrets or things that you would do differently over the past split?
Well, obviously the team identity thing was bad. You know, I should have established a better team identity. So I think I already went over that. Another thing is that okay, so we'll skip the authoritative stuff because I already agreed on that as well. I think that I think regulating their off scrim time would have been better as well. Like, so we scrim for X amount of time, and then maybe some players are more or less productive league-related than others. And so it'll be a break, but I should still be regulating that, being like, okay, during your break time, you should be, if you're solo queuing, you should be looking to do this kind of stuff like that. I think that could have been pretty big. And one of the things I felt bad about was that I came on as drafter about halfway through the split. Okay, or head drafter, like a little bit more than halfway through the split. The way we originally had it was that I felt that Link had the motivation and had the drive to want to be the head drafter, and I thought that it'd be a really good experience for him because it would force him to be more motivated and take like every draft seriously, like all the scrims seriously, right? And it did. Like he is probably our most improved player and the one who I feel tries the hardest of anyone on the team. But what happened was like we had a game against TSM or so where I feel like the players or the management and the fans lost faith in Link, and we didn't establish the correct follow-up to be able to make sure that didn't happen. Like not only did we lose faith in him or whatever, other people lost faith in him, we also made it so that I would have more responsibility during the drafting. Now, I'm not saying that second thing is wrong. I think I should have always had more responsibility during the drafting anyways, but it came at the expense of Link, I think. And I think it's really bad because you should always, as a team, you should always try to build the confidence of a player. But I felt like halfway through the split or near the end of the split, maybe that he gave me more drafting responsibility because he felt unconfident or less confident than before because some people told him that they didn't like him playing this champion. And rather than doing it constructively, it was just like, you're bad.
So one last question on the topic of CLG before we get into your personal future. I'm curious okay, there's this kind of myth that when one U.S. president leaves office, he leaves a letter for the next one. If you were to leave a letter or something to the next coach, could you give me any idea of like what would be in it, like advice or something along those lines? Because your time with the team has been somewhat limited, but I'm sure that there's probably stuff that you might consider saying to the next guy.
I think organic growth is very hard, and artificial like directed growth is a lot more consistent. But if you can make organic growth work, it might show better results. But I guess that's not what I would leave him, right? That's just like, I don't know, something I was thinking about while the interview was going on. I think that the players themselves are very smart, and I think walking in, you'll immediately know that this team has got some of the most intelligent players ever. So I know whoever will replace me will be more authoritative, and I feel like I set a really good framework for the team because what I ended up doing is essentially I had they're able to self-improve at a level where I feel like maybe they weren't at before. Because a lot of times I would just tell them to be self-reflective, or I would like ask them what they would do in a specific situation, and their response would be like, okay, well, they would do this. And so I feel like they've already have all the tools in their power to become great players. I think every single player on this team is top 3 at their position, for sure. I would not doubt that in any situation.
In North America, you're saying?
Yes, sorry, in North America. I guess I should clarify. But I guess the biggest thing would just be to make sure you schedule, because scheduling is everything. So you need to make sure that you have a good idea of where your goal for the team is, your goal for players, your goal for management. Like you should have, it's the same thing for most people, long-term, short-term goals. And I feel like I had those, but they weren't concrete. Like I didn't write them down, and because of that, I wasn't able to go back to them in times where I needed to know exactly what was happening, and that really caught me off guard, especially going to playoffs.
For you now, what is next? Because you're stepping down. Are you leaving? Do you have bags packed? Are you leaving the house right now? What is next for you?
Honestly, if I could right now, I'd consider it. If not because I dislike the players, I actually love all the players on the team and the management. Like I have no beef with anyone in the house, I feel. But the bigger thing is that I think if I'm gonna go this soul searching route, if I need to go look toward myself to see what I really want to do, I don't think I should be living in a gaming house being influenced by like gaming house factors. I think that I should be living by myself or with a roommate or whatever. And I haven't really thought past that. I think that I'll take like a month or so to figure out what I need to do, and from there move on to see to follow that. But yeah, I think moving out is something that's definitely on my mind, but it just can't happen because obviously I didn't want to leak the news that I was stepping down. So I haven't contacted anyone about potential roommates. And so as soon as this interview goes live, I would have talked to exactly 0 people about moving in with them. So and that takes some time, So I'm sure it'll take me some time to move out of the CLG house, but that's definitely something that I feel like is necessary for me to move on.
Are you 100% separating from the CLG organization?
No, I probably will be streaming on the network for at least the first month, and I'm still I still help advise George on some certain things, but honestly, I don't take a premier step in the management decisions anymore. After I told them I stepped down, I decided to take a backwards step because it's their organization. I shouldn't be in control of it. I should just be at best advice.
For Scarra fans out there, what does the soul searching mean for them? Are you going to drop off the radar for a while, or are you going to be around? I mean, what should people who are invested in you expect?
Well, they should. I still need to make income, so I expect to be streaming, and I enjoy streaming. Like I used to maybe not enjoy streaming so much because I felt like I had the wrong mentality when it came to solo queue. It was just like I had to win, but it's impossible to win every game. Yeah, at best you should praise effort, and so I just try to win. And if it doesn't work out, I try to isolate like why it didn't work out. I think taking a more lighthearted stance on it has helped me be able to come to the conclusion of like, yeah, I don't know, I enjoy streaming a lot more. So at least in the next month, I expect to stream for income and then figure out what to do from there. I don't exactly know where my perspective paths will lead me. I'm sure full-time streamer is one of them. But I don't know what other paths are left.
Is there anything that you have in the back of your mind? Like we've seen Snoopy go off and he's talking about business stuff, players unions, etc. Other people are looking at other areas. Like, do you have sort of in the back of your mind like a maybe short list of ideas?
Not really, actually. I just know streaming is an option. Playing the game will be hard, but I don't think it's limited by age. It's something that I've also considered, but I want to keep an open mind because maybe I'm so focused right now on specific things. I don't want to miss anything in the months to come.
Maybe reform the old Dignitas
Oh yeah.
for a challenger team. Call up Locust.
That sounds like a perfect idea. I'll call in Cutie Pie. I'll get Boy back. It will just stream all of our scrims and all of our games until the LCS.
Is there anything that you want to say to any of your fans out there?
Well, first of all, I'm sorry. I think that it is the direct result of my training, which caused us to play so low. Although I don't want to take all the blame because I feel like large part of my training also was the reason why we were so successful during the regular season. It so happened that there were a lot of things that came up that I didn't expect. We were heading into playoffs. But one of the biggest things I wanted to cover is just I understand why there's so many frustrated fans. And I went over this while I was streaming, literally like an hour or two ago. But I did a different thing this split. As a player, I used to take every interview that I possibly could. But this split, I tried to pass up a lot of interviews because I really wanted the players to be more in the spotlight. And because CLG naturally isn't super transparent when it comes to their coaching staff, because Tony doesn't stream, and when I stream, I don't really talk too much about what happens behind the scenes. What ended up happening in this split was that while we were winning, everyone was okay with it. But when we started losing, what ended up happening was they looked for answers, like why are we losing? And they heard nothing from CLG because I just assumed that I wanted more of the spotlight, or all the wins should be the players' reason, or the players, and not mine. And because of that specific stance, I took a lot less of a social media presence to split, and it came to bite me in the end when we're having these problems, and there was really no one to look to, and they should have looked toward me because I'm the head coach, but they couldn't because I didn't release any media stuff. And I want to apologize for that because I understand why there's so many angry fans. Some of them are irrationally angry, but others of them have a good reason, and it's because my transparency this split wasn't that high for the reasons stated.
All right, well, thank you so much for the interview, Scarra. I really appreciate it. I wish you best of luck in all things in the future. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of our coverage of all things LCS at ongamers.com.